Hey everybody, I am Tommy Scoville, and you are on the lifeboat. Let's say hi to some people and see who is here. But before we get started, you know what I'll do? Turn down that radio if you're just calling. I've seen this transport people to other universes. The guest this evening will be from the Federal Institution, a guy that managed to turn a 3-year tale into a decade. Sorry. Come on, man. That's good stuff. And because I do kind of want to keep with tradition, a man that did time in the California prison system, one for being known for probably one of the ugliest prison systems that you can go through. And I'm not sure he ever had to leave his cell or go to the chow hall. You can do easy time even in a really nasty facility if you're living with the guys running it, which probably is the way to do it. I didn't go about this correctly at all, people. But I've never been the brightest bulb. All right, here we go. We have Kathy Ann is here. Good to see you, Kathy Ann, and thank you for all that you do. Chase the Heat. That is the Johnny Scoville.
Johnny.
Yeah, we got DS Kitty Diane. Majesty, good to see you. Dee Razzle Dazzle. What's happening? Russ is in the house. Found him out on the yard. Kristen Melinda, one of the hardest working wrenches I've ever seen. True story. Renee B, Amy C, Chicka Cherry Cola. Chicka Cherry Cola. Just Joan, good to see you. Glad you are here. Mariana Wagner. Or Wagner. On average.
That's my wife.
I get about 40% of names correct about 20% of the time. I'm not good. Brenda, good to see you. Allison Metcalf Palumbo, what's happening? Alex, Sweet Liberty. Is that Unicorn? I am a fan of Unicorn. And if you ever happen to come across a vape flavor called Unicorn's Milk, it is absolutely lovely. Kestrel, good to see you. Giovanni's Pikachu, my favorite kind of Pikachu. Incarnasoul, Mommy Bear, Twisted Sister Paranormal, Gamer Jackie. Booyah. We'll throw that one up there first. Kim Roy, good to see you. Aspire to Inspire. Always love that name, man. Jumps out at me. Really does. Speaking of names that jumps out at me, I'll have to get back to that last one because you got a better chance of seeing our Lord and Savior and a nice pair of Wayfarers than you do getting that name right. So with R. Kelly going in with what really amounts to bad paperwork, why does it seem like he's having a great time? Is he just kept on PC yards or with other creeps? I'm going to go first on this one, if you don't mind, because I happen to have some deep dive info on this. And I get this question more than I get just about any other. You can, if you deep dive this, find this man or recordings of this man talking about him getting his ass kicked. His cellie has tuned him up. He's been tuned up once in the day room. He's already, this guy has not had it easy since getting in there. He's not popular. And I would imagine it's going to continue to be that way. You haven't heard of him getting carried out in a body bag or getting life flighted like Larry Nassar. But if I'm not mistaken, I think he got perforated the last time he got attacked. Yeah. So stab, fast as you can. By the way, people, just in case you're not familiar with the process of the whole prison stabbing, it's not like you see in the movies where a guy goes, ugh. Hey, how you doing? You know what I mean? No, the idea is, the second you take that first 2 steps, the people on the camera are going to hit the deuces, which is a term that means sending in everybody. There's a panic button on the police's radio, and they're going to hit it. They're not going to come over and try to stop you alone. They might come over with a little pepper spray, but they're going to wait for reinforcements. So you got to go and do that as many times as you can so that before they tackle you, your boys will go, dude, I counted 11, right? Everybody be real happy with that one. Am I lying? Like that's the first thing you heard. I counted 9. Oh, it was 11. It was 11.
Yeah, just in case anyone's wondering why they call it the deuces, is that back in the day when they didn't have radios, they had phones at each of the guard stations.
Yeah.
And they would have to pick it up and hit and dial 2, and 2 was what would bring them all.
It's really funny because when I first got into prison, I said to a guy, because in the state they call it the deuces also. And I got in there and said, why do they call it the deuces? He goes, because you ain't hitting that button unless you're shitting yourself. And I went, okay. I swear to God, right? So fast forward, and I'm like almost 40. And I'm in there and I'm sitting playing poker. And this youngster says to one of the old timers, "Why do they call that stuff the deuces?" So I repeat back with this old man.
Yeah, that's why I like that story better.
And then he goes, "How did you get that?"
Right.
Your age. He goes, "Phone call thing, man. You had to dial line 2." Casper told him, he's like, the guys up on the walkway used to pick up the phone and dial number 2, and it would bring all the gunners out and everybody else, like the real gunners, not the weirdo gunners.
Yeah.
And from Massachusetts, happy Phantom, good to see you. Any questions tonight, folks? If you just put a couple of cues in front of them, we will get them answered. That's actually it's a good question on R. Kelly, but I promise you, you have to take my word on this. He's not having a good time in it.
No, he's not.
He's not.
Especially,
that there were people that talked about Derek Chauvin and how they were shocked that he could do something so that was seen as so racially charged and not have this come back to haunt him. And at the time, I said, "Oh, that dude's in deep trouble, right? That dude's going to get hit. Someone's going to hit him. He's way too racially charged." And since then, he's been perforated. And he was on the softest yard on planet Earth. I'm talking about, bunnies look at this yard and go, "Yeah, that's softer than my place." I did time there, and I did time there when it was active. When it was active, right? It was never active. But when it was active, you would bump into people and they'd go, "Hey, sorry." And the other guy'd go, No, that was me. That was me. I am sorry. That was me. No. I should have been a little... No one wanted to leave that yard, bro. Everything on there. When you were done eating, I swear to God, when you were done eating, the guy that ran food services, he'd send 4 convicts out carrying the big silver trays just full of whatever the food was. They'd throw out nothing until they saw if the felons wanted more of it, because there was no chance in hell. There weren't enough people. No one was ever going to go, "Oh, well, I didn't get any," because it was such a small place. They had an INS unit where everybody in there was getting deported. They had a unit that was just women, and they couldn't be on the yard with us. So of all the units there was only 4 units, and 2 of them were taken out of play. So it was a yard built for 1,300 people, and when you went outside, there was nobody there. It was just lovely. You went to the chow hall, there was nobody there. You went to the...
played softball by yourself.
Yeah, well, they could barely scrape up a team, Russ. They could barely get 2 teams put together. I'm not even being funny, but yeah, very little softball in terms of favorite prison lingo. This is a great question, Dee Razzle Dazzle. Of all of the things that you've heard in prison, which one is your favorite?
Zuzus and Wham Wham.
Yeah,
Zuzus and Wham Whams is good.
I might have to ride with that. And I know I'm not trying to phone it in, but
no, it's good ones because
that's one that you don't. I just asked my wife the other day. I was like, "Hey, do you know what Zoom Zooms and Wham Whams are?" And she's like, "No." And I was trying to explain it to her, and I think she got it. But what's crazy is that, like, if you tell me something, I can tell you if that's either a Wham Wham or a Zoom Zoom. You know what I mean?
Absolutely,
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, but there's no rule book to what designates, one or the other. So that's pretty funny, man.
Yeah, that's really, really fun. You know what? Honestly, I think that I don't know, the term gunner to me. Yeah, because the first time I heard what that was, I was like, you and I were together, Casper.
Yeah.
But we were still on the yard. It was right around the time that the P90X thing was going off. And there was a guy they called, are you ready? I'm gonna blow your mind, bro. They called him C-Note. He had a bill tattooed on the top of his head, $100 bill. And he was standing over on the tennis courts, rubbing out a giggity and staring over at the smoking section where the ladies of the psychology department would go outside and smoke. And Casper can tell you, this is about 250 feet away from the tennis courts. Like, you're doing this one. Squeeze your head. And he's over there just getting all excited about it. And he got caught, which was just flipping awesome. But I said, what did he get hemmed up for? Because the dude actually owed me some cash. And Casper goes, "Oh, he's a gunner." And I'm like, he was a what? Like, what the hell did he mean? He's like a gunner. He was gunning chicks down. I'm like, I'm lost. And when you told me, I'm like, there's no way that's a thing. And then I got to, because like who just masturbates out in public staring at people? But when I got to Lewisburg, they were talking about G Block being the worst place there. And I'm like, why? Is it really teeny cells? And the guy's like, no. I'm like, is it got the heating pipes in there? He goes, I'll give you a hint, brother. He goes, it smells like Vaseline and shame. I was like, I go, oh, is it a gunner block? And he goes, yeah. He goes, it's a gunner block. There are 225 cells in there, two guys per cell, and every single dude in there was a gunner. I was like,
yeah.
And you know what? I'm not trying to make anybody unhappy, but if I said to you guys, where did 80% of them come from in this country? You could probably answer that. We're not gonna though. Let's move on to the next question.
Oh man, just in time. You know what's crazy too is that they'll say if the female officer is like closest to a certain cell, they'll all go in one cell.
Yeah.
And gun her down together.
Yeah, 2 or 3 guys would be in there together, standing in the window at different heights.
How nuts is that, man?
That's crazy.
Anyways.
Disturbing.
You might as
really
well
disturbing.
You guys might as well just do it to each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They do that too.
Well, this is no joke, right?
Same guys. Yeah.
They busted 2 black dudes in Black Canyon. Now, one dude was sitting in the chow hall at lunch, and his homeboy had his coat flared up and crap. So he's standing like this with his coat sitting so that his coat's, covering the guy behind him. And they were taking turns being the dude behind the coat, and they got caught, which is, how do you live that one down, bro?
I got just a real quick story. When I very first, and I never even heard of gunner, didn't know that people did that. I was at SeaTac and I was in the shoe for fighting, and, I'm standing in the door talking to the lieutenant, and I'm bouncing on my toes talking to her. I'm just like, yeah, lieutenant, I'm trying to get back to my unit. Can I get to the same unit? And I'm bouncing on my toes. And she stood back. She's like, what are you doing back there? And I'm like, what? And she's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, nothing. I'm talking to you. And she's like, yeah, but you're bouncing on me. I'm like, yeah, I'm excited. I'm bouncing on my toes. I'm like, she's like, okay.
You sure?
And then I asked myself, I was like, dude, that was the weirdest conversation. She's like, oh, she probably thought you were gunning her down. And I was like, what? I was like, no way. So when she came back the next day or whatever and did her rounds, I was like, hey, Lieutenant, I ain't about that. I had to make sure she knew that wasn't, I'm not that guy, man. You know what I mean? Fuck.
Damn right that wasn't me. Well, and the worst thing in the world is when people get caught and they try to talk their way out of it. So I had a cellmate that was, I had to get permission to let this dude move into my cell because he wasn't a white dude, but he was a Mexican cat. But when he didn't have any tattoos on him, if he slung back, I could take him without even asking. But without tattoos on him, I'm not sure where this dude rides or anything else. And the shot caller goes, no, he's cool. You can have him. Don't worry about it. You're all good. I said, you sure? He goes, yeah, this is the smooth. So they come to bring pills for pill line. And when the nurse gets there and she's opening the food slot and she's bringing Welbies, right? And some Neurontin and all kinds of stuff. So we're waiting on this. Kind of excited. And she comes to the door, and as she's dropping the bean slot, she looks in, and I don't make eye contact with her, but she goes, F this, you're done. And she slams the beans, she all aggressive as hell, right? And snaps it, and I'm like, whoa, back here with the Welbies, right? And she's running off, and I'm hopping, off of my rack, like, what's up? And I turn around, and dude's like this, and he's got the sheets pulled up and everything else, and I was like, bro, what just happened? And he's like, well, I couldn't hear her coming. I'm like, you couldn't hear her coming, bro. We're halfway down the hall. He'd opened every single bean slot in the entire place. I'm like, bro, you weren't gunning that chick down. And he goes, no, but right as she was coming back, I was pulling him off the rack to the ground. Because if I don't beat this dude, I'm done. I can't go out to the rack. I can't do anything. So I'm pulling him off the rack to beat on him. And the nurse came by. I'm sawing wood on this dude. And the cops tear gassed us out, pulled me out, right? Tear gassed us. And then I get put right back into the cell. They drop all the charges. The nurse goes and tells them all this thing. And I swear to you, right hand, bro, she comes to give the pills, and she just hands me a 30-day blister pack in. Hands the whole thing. And I went, good looking out. Drop that to the floor. She's like, I really appreciate you, man. I was like, no, I appreciate you. Good looking out. Which is good. Yeah. But I did get pepper sprayed for the whole thing. Tase me 4 times. Don't pepper spray me. I hate pepper spray.
Yeah.
Hold on. We got a couple of starred questions here. Let's see. Casper, what do you got? Never gotten a tattoo. I'm very cautious. What should I ask them?
So look at a portfolio. That's first and foremost.
Yep.
There's lots of guys who have tattoo shops that really suck. They just do, and make sure that they're at least over 30. That's I think you'd be pretty safe if you do that. Look at their portfolio. Make sure they're at least over 30. That way, there's some good artists out there that are younger. I'm not saying that at all, but just to to be safe, make sure they've been tattooing a while. But yeah, that's really it. And then if you like their work, and then commit to it. And then when it comes down to tipping, because a lot of people ask this question on my Facebook group. I have a tattoo watchdog Facebook group that I run, and a lot of people are like, hey, what we no one ever knows. And of course, I have to say, if it's $10 or $100, I'm just as happy. That's not true. I like big tips, but
You're lying.
I get big tips because I give them a fair price. They usually think they're going to end up paying double of what I charge, and that it's always perfect work. But just if you really love the work and the experience was awesome, tip them whatever's in your heart to tip.
Now,
but you don't have to tip. It's not a mandatory thing. Yeah.
See, I got to disagree with you on this one, on this answer.
Sure.
So let me back up because he blew this. Here's what you want to ask. Who made the ink, right? And what were they burning to make the set? That's the first question. The second question is going to be this. You got a brand new barrel, right? I want to see that thing before you cut it up, right? I want to see that barrel. And is this needle made out of the spring on a pen, or is this guitar string? Because I have a preference, right? And then you're going to want to make sure you get a really good look at that guitar string, because if it's barbed in any way at the end, like I got scars you wouldn't believe from this dude drilling on my arm for about 3 hours. The ink's not taking. I'm like, well, I'm bleeding pretty good.
Yeah, I don't even know why you even asked me to come back on this show, man.
Are those not the right questions? Hey, you didn't reuse.
Those are absolutely the right questions.
Yeah,
they're thinking about
night yard. I thought.
They're thinking about if you're getting a tattoo in prison or if you're not.
But those are the questions right there.
Yeah.
Did the person stick me multiple times? No, the person stuck me once. So it was this was a very different situation. He was trying to do a hit and run without getting caught. You know what I mean? I was coming through a metal detector and he was walking this way and I was walking toward him and I got no idea it's coming, which is usually how you get stabbed in prison. No one's going to warn you. And I'm walking toward him, and this is a friend of mine, man. Like we get, at that point, I'll just keep it real because I was on drugs, but we got high together every day, usually on my dime. Like this dude, but I guess he assumed I must have been, running up those debts or whatever, because he thought he was hitting the right dude. But as we was coming by this way, he had a good long one, and he just got me once in the stomach, and I saw it. I actually got to see it on a laptop. He did a pretty proficient job, but he wasn't trying to get caught, and he didn't. Honestly, he didn't get. They brought him in, but there wasn't enough on that tape. Even seeing him do this, you couldn't see the weapon, but you could see his hand. And I said, he smacked me in the junk. Like, how dumb guys, you do that in college or in high school, you slap a guy in his, in his junk. I said, we do that in the unit all the time. And the head IS named Santana, in case you're watching. Santana, what's up?
I'm still here, mother.
He was a good dude, man. Honestly, I got nothing bad to say about Santana. He threw out my MP3 player. That whole stabbing thing, he acted like a dick over, but he was good to me all the rest of the time. It's so funny too. This is sad, but he came back, Casper, to give you an idea how we only had about 60 white dudes on that yard. For real. This was not a white boy yard. And he comes back and he goes, boy, oh boy, dude. He goes, they are politicking hard to try to get you back out of the shoe. Now I've been stabbed, right? I'm on solitary. They're not letting me out of this. I didn't tell him what race stabbed me. But he goes, your people are politicking hard. And I'm sitting there thinking, what white dude is coming up here trying to get me out of here? Like, I am blown away. And I go, hey, well, thank the white boys for me. And he goes, the white boys? Aren't you a South Sider? I said,
Oh,
no, man. I go, no, I'm not. He goes, well, then all your Mexican friends are coming up trying to get you out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't the white car wasn't doing much for me. No, I only
You're
got
the best
stabbed once.
customer.
Of course
I was
not.
exactly, dude. Between that and the fact that I was either buying it from some Mexicans or I was doing it with them, so that I was
Right.
friends with all those cats, to be sure.
Right.
When asked to see your paperwork, do inmates have a copy on them? Is there a process, or do they have to ask a guard or whoever for papers to show who's asking? Do me a favor, Russ, take this one, and then Casper, you can tell the federal system. Russ, what's that like in the state?
In the state, yeah, you have you go into the yard with your paperwork, and then if anybody says anything, if you don't know somebody or have some homeboys already there, then they'll ask. But if you don't, they'll want to see it. That's how it is in the state.
Yeah, so in the feds, it's changed over the last 10 years, maybe 15 years. It used to be everyone had their PSI wherever when their property got there, their PSI got there. But they shut that down, so you can't have your PSI anymore because too many people were getting stabbed and they were just having to. I don't think it fixed anything because now when you first get there, they give you, and this is for most places. Every place is a little bit different because the politics are a little different. It just depends who has the yard, how much of an old head he is. But you definitely have to get your JNC or your docket within 2 weeks so we know you're not a SO.
Right.
And then after that, then it's up to your card to decide how deeper they're going to dig. Now in the USP, I mean, the other races are waiting to watch your guys get your paper. Everyone's waiting for your paperwork, man. It's not just like it's the white boys. It's like when you get to the pen, everyone's waiting for your paperwork. And the other races are probably just waiting to see if you check in, get smashed, for the entertainment.
For the entertainment value, but they're definitely, and they will shame other races for not taking care of stuff, and it becomes a real issue.
And then everyone tries to outshine each other by how hard they go, and and removing that problem. Hey, Reese.
Hey, it's my fiance.
Yeah.
What's funny about the paperwork thing? He makes a really good point. So he says the JNC, your judgment commitment, confinement. This is the paperwork you get. This is what is issued the day that you get sentenced. And it doesn't tell you everything by any stretch. But if you know how to read one of those, it's damn near impossible to be a scumbag and get by. On the 5th page of your judgment and commitment, it's gonna say, what are your terms of release, right? What do you have to do upon release? If you have a messed up case, it's gonna say you have to register, right? As an SO. And if it says on that piece of paper that you got to register, then no one really needs to wait on the rest of your paperwork.
Right.
That kind of clears all of that up.
It will also say if you have a downward departure.
Correct.
So, and there's many reasons to have one. You can have a 5K too, which is like if you've been abused when you're a kid.
Yeah, there's about 5 different 5Ks. One of them, or maybe that's a 5-7. One of them is you did so much charitable things that they're going to knock some time off. There's a bunch of Ks. The 5's the bad one. But there's also, even if your lawyer was good and cleaned that up, because that kind of does take place, what you end up with is, like, we had a guy come in at Paradise, and he comes in. What'd you get caught with? 22. It was over 500 grams is a really big deal. He had 2,200 or whatever grams of blow, and there was meth in there and all these other things. And he goes, and I said, what'd they rip you off? He goes, 71 months. Everybody in the room went,
yeah.
What?
What'd you get? What'd you get, cowboy? And he's
5
like,
years?
He goes, I got a release valve. I got a safety valve. And they have this thing called a safety valve. If Reese were to get caught tomorrow, right? And she was trafficking substances, she's got a shot at getting a safety valve because she's never even, had a traffic ticket. She's done nothing illegal in her whole life. But nobody in prison with you actually is that person. And if they're at the same custody level as you, they sure as hell aren't that person. So when they go,
Right.
I got a safety valve. No, you didn't.
Yeah, and here's the deal. I used to tell my guys all the time, listen to your bros that are coming in, listen to the people that are, because they will inevitably tell on themselves. You know what I mean?
No
By
doubt.
their story, because their
Yep.
story won't match up to their time. And they're either bragging and lying, which 9 times out of 10, it's usually that.
Yep.
It's usually like, yeah, I had 20 cars. I got caught with 50, 1,000 pounds. And,
Yep.
I got 60
This
months.
Cadillac Escalades. Can I
Yeah.
borrow soup just until I get my
Always.
paycheck from the chow?
Always. Yeah.
Can I get shorts on that cigarette?
Least
Well, no,
painful-
I mean, it's funny,
Go
but
ahead.
when you could smoke, that was one of those things that you saw all the time. Guys would be telling
Yeah.
me these stories. I got 9 chicks on the street. I had 5 Escalades. Can I get shorts on that cigarette? Don't throw that out. Don't throw that out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Catching
yeah.
snipes.
Things have gotten tough, bro. Things have gotten really tough. The least painful spot to get a tattoo on your girlfriend's shoulder.
Yeah.
I promise. And her to let
Yeah,
me
your
know.
your
You won't
arm,
feel a thing.
your arm is the least painful spot. Absolutely. And then you can also Google. They have like these diagrams where it'll be like red and green and pink areas
Right up,
to kind of show you.
right through here.
Yeah.
That was your most painful.
That was my most painful. I told him if he went any further, I was going to stab him in the eye with a gun.
I've had that
Yeah,
conversation.
my worst was I'm tattooed literally from here to my toes,
Right.
Yeah.
and my worst spot was right here. Was right there.
Was it really?
Yeah, my sternum. Oh yeah. I screamed in the dude's. In Hammer. I screamed in Hammer's
yeah.
face, and they wouldn't. And I tried to tap out, and he wouldn't let me tap out. And so I
He's not
offered
the
him
guy you'd want to
$100.
scream in his face either. He's built like
Oh yeah, he was so mad. He's like, "Dude, you can't do that, brother. You can't do that, brother." And
Did he
Yeah, I
have a
tried to
brick on his
tap out.
hand or something? I mean,
huh?
the heavy-handed type or what?
Oh, heavy hand, heavy wipe. He did the
Did he have a
pound wipe.
bar?
Bam,
Bar?
bam.
Pounding like
He's a big dude, and
he is a big
anyways,
dude.
yeah, and so that was my worst painful spot. Like, it's hard for me to tattoo people to this day in the sternum because I know how much it hurts, and especially like if it's like someone I really care about, I almost can't do it
Right.
because I know because I kind of like it triggers that pain in me. But yeah, that's definitely the worst spot. At least the least is in your arm.
Yeah,
Your
I've got
forearms
one in my
are
armpit.
Yeah.
James Collins Care says his armpit was bad. I have one in my armpit that sucked.
Well,
But for
no.
me, right here, inside of my wrist, but it may have just been the
spicy.
person that I was
That's real
dealing with.
spicy there.
But as this girl is drilling on my hand, it's doing this one like it was from the hand from Star Wars when they're putting it back on Luke and they're tattooing it. Like as she's drilling on it, my hand's just doing this thing and I couldn't control it. Like it's just going. And I didn't want to tap out because she was a woman tattooing on me. Her friend was there as an apprentice, right? So already there's 2 women in there sitting, and I'm there with the girl that I was married to at the time. And I mean, she went, brrr. She's like, "How is that?" I wanted to go, "I'm done. That hurt. And you're not touching me anymore." I wanted to get up and like stomp out like a kid. And I had to go, "Yeah, it was good." Look at my teeth. It was awful though. I hated it, man.
How many
Spine's
people pass
back
out
here.
on you, Casper?
I get about 4 pass outs a month.
Okay.
Yeah. I've heard other tattoo artists say that it happens all the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a trip.
Although here's the thing, I'll just keep this real. I know of some guys that have gotten some tattoos in some really rugged places. Because inside
So
you
do
find some
I.
really odd dudes that have done
So
some
do
really,
I. My Uncle Paul, he has a lion's head on a certain area of the body that stretches when you squeeze it.
Bob.
And it looks like it's a lion's head with a full mane. I'm like, why'd you do that? He's I just felt like doing it. And
It
he's
kind of
in
looks
there.
like a tiger or a lion. Depends on the grip.
Right.
When you squeeze it.
Yeah, it just kind of came out at you.
No,
And I'm like,
that's
look
so
at your
funny,
family.
You have,
You know?
you have done scared Casper.
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing to do, by the way.
Right.
Not an easy thing to do, by the way.
I didn't ask any questions. I just said you're nuts.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, speaking of your nuts,
Yeah,
speaking of your
you're
nuts, There was a guy that I knew in the joint that decided he wanted the New York Giants football helmet on, tattooed on him.
On the
And when it was done, I mean, my thought was just number one, you really got to want that flat book if you're the tattoo artist. You know what I'm saying? to be in there getting that job. But second of all, how big a football fanatic are you? Right.
Right.
I mean, you're letting somebody take a needle. I don't even like zippers. You know what I mean? I want. I'm not playing, man. I want button fly jeans. I don't want anything with metal teeth getting that close to my.
We've all zipped our, up in a zipper. At least I know I have.
I sure have.
There is a bullseye on her back already. Absolutely, there's a bullseye on her back. Here's the biggest problem for her. In my and the fellas can weigh in on this with me. I'd like their opinion. But the way I look at this, the guy George that she killed was not white. And that's going to be an issue for her because the girls inside, the really tough ones that tend to go really hard are very often gangbangers who are really offshoots of of male gangs like the Southsiders. And they're going to be really unhappy that she killed a Mexican dude. I don't think she's going to be in good shape. You guys agree?
Nope.
Oh yeah.
Nope. She's in for it, man. She's so in for it. And just her attitude towards the whole thing. And man, there's some girls waiting for her, man. And normally I would have said, but for the reason Tommy just stated, normally I just would have said, she might get it, she might not. You know, she's definitely going to be shunned. But no, she's got something coming when she gets to where she's going.
She does.
And I'm sorry, she deserves every lick she gets, man.
Yeah,
I agree.
You got to think, even in women's prisons, there's a woman there that could bench press 350, 400.
Oh yeah.
Just think of that, and they will, use that power on somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. And they've got, there are groups of women that want to make a point. This is not a rabbit hole you want to go down, but there are videos out there of females attacking people, female gang members attacking strangers as a way to try to get to sort of progress through the ranks. And they're stone cold killers, man. They're stone cold killers.
Yeah.
They really are. The Cholo girls. Scared
of
them.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Hold on.
There we go. There's a question for you. We know Tommy and Sam's nickname, but I can't remember if Russ said what his was or how he got it. Russ, what'd they call you inside? They call you Russ?
Woody.
Okay, checks out.
Because I had a head that was as hard as wood.
All right.
You guys, I got into a few knuckle ups where nothing happened to me when they had direct hits and no bumps, nothing.
Yeah.
He said it's like hitting a piece of wood.
Yeah.
That's what they said.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's one of those nicknames that comes up a lot inside.
It does.
Because the fellas tend to call white boys, like you hear black dudes drop the N-word amongst each other.
Yeah.
Well, we get called Woods or Peckerwoods.
Yep.
You've never put a tattoo on anybody that said Peckerwood Pimp, have you? I started telling people we'd have youngsters coming in, and I was the rep in the unit, so I would have the sheet of who was coming in and their ages, where they're from, and you get like 20 of them, and they'd all be really young names, and I'd be like, "All right, dude, I got bets. Let's see. 3 Mama Tries and at least 2 Peckerwood Pimps."
Yeah.
And a noose.
And a noose.
That's a good memory, man.
With a rooster, a noose with a rooster in it, hanging somewhere below his knee.
Okay, Casper, this is for you. I've got certain homeboys that, that were all about that, but they've had swastikas on their stomachs and they had nooses hanging from the end of the swastika where a hammer would be hanging or a rat would be hanging or a badge would be hanging. Yeah. And that all tells, what they got.
Who you took care of.
Yeah. The hammer, when I was in, I don't know if it's changed or not, but they used to call the other races hammerheads.
Right.
Because you'd have to take a hammer to break their head open.
Yeah.
Asian Islander.
Yeah. Yep. That's absolutely correct.
Yep.
I watched
crazy.
I watched an Islander get absolutely obliterated on my moonshine. By the way, I had nothing to do. All I did was sell it. But he got, I mean,
You had to throw that disclaimer in there.
I did because he acted the fool. But he came out of his cell with nothing on but socks and wanted to fight in half of the place. And his people had to tune him up and bring him into the cell. But they punched him about 600 times in the head. And I remember saying to my cellmate, I cannot wait to see what this fool looks like tomorrow, man. You know what I mean? He's just going to be like a pumpkin. And that he walked to the chow hall for breakfast, and he didn't have a mark on him. And I mean, the noises that were coming off of this guy's skull as they were pounding on him, I was like, he's going to die, man.
I had a 4-foot level broke across the side of my head, and it didn't even leave a mark.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He dead swing.
Not so much
full
here,
back swing.
but right here. That's it. You had an old patient who had tattoos from his neck to his feet. The only parts without were the soles of his feet and the tip of his junk. You know, that shows a complete and utter lack of commitment. I mean, you're going. I'm serious. You did the rest of it. You know what I mean? What? Just stopping at the top. You took care of the rest of it.
Most guys I know who are tattooed that much definitely have their junk tattooed and the bottoms of their feet.
I've never seen
creative tattoo that you've ever seen.
I tattooed Japan on this girl's foot pretty recently.
The most creative tattoo I've ever seen was on this gay guy, and he had hairy armpits, and he had a leg here and a leg up down here.
Yeah,
with a high heel on it. I'm like, you really don't have that tattoo, and he's like, yes, I do.
Yes, I do.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I've seen that before. Yeah, I did a Bruce Lee one time where it was like Bruce Lee was like right here, and then I'll have to find it. You know, I'll do that one of these nights, and I'll share some of my tattoos on the night yard. But Bruce Lee was here, and his arm was stretched out, and then his arm turns into like the guy's hand, so it looks like my hand would be Bruce Lee's hand. Yeah, it's like super 3D.
I got one. I had a cellmate in Paradise, the Rev, they called him. He was an Odinist, and he had to relay this to me. But when he was hitting shorts, he had Adolf on his leg, right? Apparently, when he got excited, it did this number.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. And as he's explaining, I said, I can't believe you'd put Adolf on your leg like that. He goes, it gets worse. I go, how's that? He goes, my junk does the Zeke Heil when he gets excited.
Wow.
And there was a man out there you were willing to let do that and pay him for it. And he was willing to take that money, which just goes to show you that.
Which leg?
They're out there.
I wonder if it had to be the right leg.
And if you happen to walk in on that and say to them, because I've been in this situation more than once. And you go, hey, what are you guys doing? Hey, do me a favor. I'll pay for the same amount of money. I just don't want you using that gun. That needle looks awfully painful. Let's go through the whole process, but you don't have to do that. I ain't gay. Okay? Says the man saying, relax, it's shrinking while he drills on it.
Yeah.
Prison's funny stuff, people. Prison are funny stuff. Casper, are men or women better at dealing with tattoo pain?
Women, hands down.
Yep.
Hands down, women. They just are. Yep.
They're also better at dealing with the pain of peppers. They're also just pretty much better at dealing with pain.
Having children. I mean, you can't beat that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's usually what they
I've not done that yet, but I have had a lot of tattoos.
Right.
Most favorite and least favorite meal you had in prison?
I'll be right back. I got
my favorite meal. My favorite meal inside.
So it's really hot in here, so I might go change that.
My favorite meal inside was when the Bureau of Prisons was able to get an awful lot of red robin for free because they owed a bunch in taxes that they didn't pay. So the government went in and seized all of these pork steaks that were self-contained. Right, so they came in this little thing with all the juice and everything else in it. And all you had to do was take that bag and drop it in boiling water for about 10 minutes.
And they were perfect.
The former head of the Colombo crime family, a guy by the name of Joe Waverly, call him Joe Waverly, Joe Casey. He said to me, "Well, that was the only thing I have ever had in prison that tasted good." He goes, "You got juice down there?" Because I had a job in the kitchen. I said, "I do." He goes, "You think you can get one or two of these back to the unit? Maybe we could, eat some in the unit, spread with it or whatever." I said, "Yeah, I might be able to do that." And then I proceeded to look like the Michelin Man. I stole every single one of those things. I ain't playing with you, brother. Like, you talk about pushing the envelope. I had so much pork on me that if I had been caught leaving the chow hall with that, I probably would have caught a charge. I wasn't playing. Like,
I
the
remember you
big,
telling me
huge
that
saran
once.
wrap? Yeah, that
Yeah.
huge saran wrap. I had that crap all the way around my chest, my side. I did my legs. And I said, there were two guys that were both from my unit. And I go, "Hey, if this guy looks like he's going to pat search me down, you guys got to start fighting. Like, if you don't throw fists, they're not going to hem you up anyway, but you start wrestling or whatever." And right as I was going toward the door, I did this number, right? And he goes, just waved me through. And I went,
"How'd you get
barely
22-inch arms?"
yeah. I look like the kid. I look like the kid in the Toy Story with the big no suit on. I was like,
Right,
"We'll see you back at the unit, guys."
Right.
But that was the best meal that I ever had inside.
Liver.
And the worst was
Liver
every
was-
other meal that I ever had
Yeah.
inside.
Yep, liver.
Much
that was
better.
the worst.
Feels so much better.
Well, since you
And
brought
you
up
look
the
more
Red
relaxed.
Robin,
Yeah.
you brought up the Red Robin, the best meal I ever had sitting in my cell in front of my TV when I was changing channels looking for something to watch was just a slam we made.
Appreciate you, dickhead.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, were you changing it using a toothbrush on a string?
No, we
Okay.
had remotes.
Oh, stop. You know what, man? You sure this was prison? You would love the feds, man.
Yeah.
We had hot water, right?
Oh, wow.
But you had to leave your cell to get it.
We
You
had
couldn't
ice
get it in the
buckets.
cell, but we had ice machines. We did have great ice
You
machines.
had ice machines?
Yeah.
They
Oh,
brought
yeah.
it in a trash can for us.
In the day room. Oh, that was the delivery.
Yeah.
In the day room, we had the world's biggest ice machine, like the kinds that you see in industrial kitchens, and they rarely run out. The Phoenix and Tucson yards tend to run out in the middle of summer because it gets. And I saw a guy at
Overworked.
out at Florence, right at the maximum security prison in Florence. When I was in the SMU, there was a guy that got inside that ice machine and waited there so that he could book a dude on the way in. But he spent probably 45 minutes inside that ice machine. When he hopped out to stab that dude, he was glued.
Hey,
Honestly.
were you there when our ice machine in my unit broke down? So I went and stole the ice machine from another unit,
Yep.
brought it to my unit, and because I told him it needed to get repaired, so I took the good one to my.
Yep.
They and I got busted doing it. Later.
You think?
Yeah.
Yeah, you took the one from what? Yeah, Pima was the one that had the bad machine, and you went and stole it and brought one back. That's pretty legendary stuff, though. Honestly, yeah.
I can
Casper was
imagine
on
you
the
doing
CMS
that.
team, the air conditioning team, and all that.
Yeah, I could go wherever I wanted. Yeah, but yeah, I was not. I didn't care. No, what are they gonna do?
Here's the thing:
Right,
it
put
gets
you in
pretty
prison.
serious. It gets pretty serious in those prisons when you do not have any ice. I mean, this is it's hotter than the average prison, people. It really
The small
is.
amenities are everything.
What? First of all, don't you talk to us about small amenities, Mr. Video Game and Television Set. Had a friggin' remote control. What was the one item in commissary that was most popular?
Ooh, in the
Oh, you
state,
got
it
me,
was
kid.
coffee and tobacco.
Coffee. Coffee's a lock, right? Coffee's
Coffee
huge.
and tobacco.
Coffee's a lot. Tuna and mackerel would have to be second.
Listen to him with tobacco. Top ramen. I think top ramen would
Top
probably be. We were going with the top ramen and the coffee because we weren't spoiled and didn't have tobacco and televisions and whatnot. In fact, we had to walk 6 miles to the chow hall uphill both ways.
Backwards.
While you're
in the
going there,
snow.
they're
Barefoot.
shooting at you from the guard towers
in
the
the
whole way.
snow.
In the snow, both directions, even in the summer. That's a great question. This is a great question.
What?
Sean Atwood had a guest who knows a girl Danny Masterson held captive for a week. She was one of the she wasn't one of the Jane Does. What would happen if new victims came forward with their Danny Masterson experiences? It's a really unique question, because most people would assume that, let's say a guy's got 30 years, or let's just say they gave Danny life, and then someone else comes forward. What's the point of going and taking that person and prosecuting them to give them life? And they will absolutely do that. They will absolutely pull him back into court. The only time they won't is if the person, the victim, says, I don't care if he gets convicted. But you have your right to make that person face you. You have your right to see that person convicted. If they were to come forward with those kind of allegations, Danny Masterson would have to go to court, go to trial, and it would be beautiful because, let's keep it real, he does have an out date. And I think most of us would be a lot happier if he didn't.
And they would wait until right before the day he got out to charge him again, just so they could keep it.
Yeah, they can. They can, and that kind of stuff gets done a lot. You can't tell me when you start getting close, that last 2 or 3 weeks, you start going,
oh man,
that thing I did with
you
the
start
jewelry
remembering
store.
everything you did.
That jewelry store we never got, or that casino I didn't get caught for. When I worked as a veterinary tech, my patient was a Pomeranian named Asher Peckerwood. You're kidding. They expected us to call him that too. Well, you should have.
Yeah.
Was it Doctor, or was it Asher Peckerwood Esquire? Because that sounds like an attorney, doesn't it?
Or was it Mr. Peckerwood?
Right. Dr. Peckerwood, line 7, Asher Peckerwood, Dr. Asher Peckerwood. I love it.
That's funny. Yeah.
How did I get such a cushy job? In general,
smile. Let me see your stretch marks.
It's a hustle, bro. Just a hustle. You know what I mean? I was just for the stay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't because I was into it. It's a hustle. Totally different. Totally different.
Is this your only gig right now, Tommy?
Is this my only gig? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I shouldn't say that. No, I really shouldn't say that. I sell a lot of watches. I really do. I sell a lot of watches.
Okay.
And I could make a living. I buy and sell vintage watches, flip them, and until the boat got big enough, I lived off of that. I was pretty successful doing it.
See that documentary about the guys that sold the watches? He got out of prison. He sold a couple.
I know exactly who he is.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right? In Florida, he had that little watch scam he was doing, and
and he's a perfect example. I'm glad you brought that up, because I've said to people all the time, if you're going to sell a watch, don't ever show a picture of a watch that has a serial number on it, right? And people go, what difference does it make? It's not like they could do anything with that serial. This guy worked that hustle. He would go and find people that were selling watches that were dumb enough to put the serial number on it, right? Where you could see it. And it's not hard to track it down to, there are huge pawn shops that will list 7,000 Rolexes, right? So you go through, and if you find one that's got a serial number on it, you go to that town, you report the watch stolen. Now you get a letter from the police that says the watch is stolen. And you walk in and go, hey, that watch right there, that Rolex, can I get a look at that? Yeah. Do me a favor, man. It doesn't look real. Can you pop the lugs? Because if you take the band off and you look between the lugs on a Rolex, that's where you're going to see the serial number. And you go, hey, check this out. And you put your paperwork up there, right? And I'm filming for YouTube, by the way. You stole that watch. That's my watch. I reported that watch stolen. They go, whoa, hey. And very often they either get them to cash them out or they get them to give them back the watch. And it's a sleazy ass hustle. It really is, because someone, it's really a short term. I mean, it just goes to show you the guy had to have a drug problem. He was running a Ponzi scheme. He wasn't making any money selling watches. What he was doing was typical Ponzi scheme. Like I say to you guys, you give me $20,000 each, and I'm going to sell these watches and start making money, and you guys will see dividends. And in the first 2 weeks, I take some of Russ's money and I give it to to Casper, who says, I'm really hurting for cash. I go, don't worry. I just flipped the watch and I give it to him. And he tells his friends, and 6 more people come in. And now I just start taking all of that money. And anyone that needs money, the product is new people coming in with cash. Problem is somebody gets stuck with the bill. And that's what happened with this guy. And he's going to do some time, man.
I'm looking for one now, Tommy. Now that I've got a little bit of money.
Yeah. Well, that is what I do. We'll get you squared away with something bulletproof. People always say to me, "Why are those watches so expensive? It's ridiculous." Because you can't screw them up. Because we'll be dead 150 years and they'll still be doing exactly what they were designed to do.
Worth every penny.
Worth
and
every
their
penny.
investment.
Yep. They go up in value. I got 650 of those puppies in this house, and it's funny. They once a year in this city they do a big buying thing for vintage watches, and it's coming up this week. And yeah, this will be like 3 or 4 months worth of work in one shot. It's but it's a fun. I really am into old stuff. I dig the whole watch thing. Every single day wearing different watches, and that, for me, it's just. I always said, even when I was doing like real legit business, not when I was robbing stuff, but I'd be waiting on dope in a parking lot, and I would look at my friend Jack and go, if I could do it all over again, I just would have played with watches. Like, it's the only thing. I'm so happy whenever I just would be playing with watches. So when I got out of prison, I'm like, I'm just going to play with watches. And so, this isn't my only gig. It is absolutely my primary gig, though. You know?
Did you find a 69 Rolex? It's gold and.
Oh, I can absolutely get you. 69 is a great year too, bro. All the red Submariners, 69 and 70 are my favorite years for Rolex. So I know that line. Yeah, I know exactly where to go too. I know exactly where to go.
Good.
Good for you, man. Someday.
Yep. What did you spend the most of your time doing in prison? Well, that would all depend. On which sentence you're talking about, right?
What time of day it was?
On my first 2 sentences, I got high. And then I did whatever dirt I had to do to continue to be able to get high every day. And then on my last sentence, all I did is exactly what you're seeing me do right now. I talked to people about chemicals. I hung out with guys. I read books. I did stuff that resembled lifeboat stuff all day. What about you guys?
Well, go ahead, Casper.
Well, I tattooed, and got high, but when I wasn't getting high, I still tattooed every day, all day, and I don't mean just like a tattoo here and there. It was every day, all day, except for when I went to the yard to work out in the morning. That's just what I did. That's what helped my time go by. When I was getting high, of course, I did it to pay the dope man. I had to. I had a huge habit. I'm kind of like Rocco in that I'm kind of a hog. When I'm on the streets, I'm a minimum of 5 grams a day.
Jeez.
So wow. So being that much of a hog, because my switch is turned on. With
nose wide open, and people are bringing it to you all day because everybody in there wants a tattoo. I've never met a tattoo artist in prison that was dope sick. The rest of us were.
Well, I mean,
and if I ever was, they were lining up and fighting to front me.
It's because there was no dope on the yard. If you're a tattoo artist and you dope sick, it's because there's no dope on the yard.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not. It doesn't have anything to do with anything else.
Absolutely.
I never had that heroin problem or anything like that. So, I mean, if I ever wanted anything, it was, hey, Sally, what do you got? And I would do that. But my first 4 years, I probably spent more time in the hole and fighting than I did anything.
Yeah.
So I was in and out, and then I did the diesel therapy. And after me and that nice officer had our conversation,
they never work out those conversations.
Yeah, they never do. But I guess I programmed. I just hit the weights, all that.
So everybody here has an assault on staff.
That's crazy, 2. Huh?
Yeah, I've got 2.
Yeah.
Seriously. I mean, that's what
crazy.
maybe 5% of prison inmates, right? Inmates ever, maybe 3%, maybe even less than that.
Maybe.
And all 3 of us have. What a bunch of idiots, dude. What a bunch of idiots.
And it was, mine was that first one when I knocked that one out, and then the other one tried to grab me or did something, and I just elbowed him right in the face and broke his nose.
Just elbowed him.
Yeah,
that's pretty much considered an assault too, there, Tiger.
Yeah, that was my second assault. So,
did you try that one in front of the disciplinary hearing officer when they asked you exactly what happened?
I told him
I just elbowed him. Like that, for the love of God.
He fell on me.
Elbow. I'll tell you what, I got no sense of humor whatsoever for mine. That was the worst thing that I ever did. I mean, honestly, and it really did change and now, hindsight being 2020, I'm very happy with where I'm at in life. But it changed the trajectory in a big way. Did you all get clean before you left prison or after? The first 2 times I went in, I didn't stop. I never took my foot off the gas. Or if I did, I stopped for a couple of months or whatever, but I didn't stop. On this last one, I stopped halfway through. What about you guys?
I got clean after. I went back 3 times on violations for dirty UAs. And then my last one, I thought she was going to terminate me, just send me back for 2 years and terminate me. My POs talked to the federal judge, and she said, I think he's ready for treatment. And again, if this would have been my second time since I had gotten out. And she goes, I think he's ready. And I sure was, man. And I went to a 4-month treatment program called True North. And I just did the work. And when I got out, I did sober living I was going to do it for a year, but I ended up meeting someone and I moved in with her. But I did 6 months in sober living, and it just all worked out. I did everything they told me to do because I knew, what my plan was garbage every single time. Even when it was a different plan, it was still my plan, and It was garbage every single time. And this last time, I just listened to what they told me, and I did it, and I've been clean. So
when I got out, I went back to my my family roots and did a little bit, but I got out of California and never had a problem with that again. And then it went to pills. So, and during that time when I was here, when I caught the 3 years, I kept getting guys that thought they could pull guns on me and get away with it. So I would take their gun away and not shoot them, thank God, but take every bit of pill they had. I got clean after that last bit. I just got away from it.
Brother.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. What do you do to stay away from being a target by other inmates? Now, use so really, here's how it comes down, in my opinion. If you do your own time and you're not looking in people's cells and you're not gambling, you're not doing drugs, it's not hard to stay out of wrecks in prison. You would think it is. It's not. Like you can do your time just keeping to yourself, or you can do your time staring at your shoes and walking around. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, usually the guys don't want to do that. Right? I wanted to get high. I didn't want to be stuck in there as miserable as I've ever been and incarcerated. That seemed like a bad idea. The least I could do was stay wasted, so I didn't feel guilty about the fact that I was in there. So at least for the first couple of rips. But if you don't want to be a target, don't gamble. Right? Don't gamble, especially with cash you don't have, and don't do drugs. Those two right there will really keep you out of trouble.
Yep.
Probably a good idea not to sleep with other men too.
Yeah, that too. But I never had a problem.
Picture. I was looking for a picture of when I first got to the halfway house when I got out of prison. So I just wanted to show that.
Look at that.
Look at that model.
Dude, and you also had the hair thing. You guys got to know that when I was with I
was in the shoe. I was in the shoe and I could get a haircut. I left from the shoe. So yeah. Well,
and when we were in the shoe, like when you first got hemmed up with me, you had hair. You went down and that was it. You were like everything left, including your eyebrows. Just saying.
Yeah, I did.
He did. He went for it, dude. He went full skin. I was like, well, you're definitely going to make a point there.
I look
the
crazy,
dumbest
man.
thing? Oh, this is
when I'm shaved down, I look crazy, dude.
This is such a great question. What's the dumbest thing you or anyone else ever thought about?
Oh, that is a good question.
Oh, yeah. I know that one exactly. 10 push-ups.
Nice.
10 push-ups. The guy owed me 10 push-ups. He said he wasn't going to pay me, so I walked over to his cell and went in his cell, shut the door, and beat the tar out of him.
Yeah. Mine was the guy changing the TV so I could check the score of the USC game because I was sweating a ticket. And I think I tell this story on the lifeboat? No,
I don't think so.
Yeah, it wasn't just a fight. I ended up having to stab the guy over it because he tried to stab me first in the shower. But yeah, I said, hey man, who's got the TV? Who's got the remote to the TV? It was a commercial on their football game. I go, I just need to check the USC game. It was in the sports TV room. It was all black. I was the only white guy in there. I just came in to check the score real quick. Everyone just stared and looked at the TV. And finally, this kid goes, he's like, oh, I got you, Casper. And the Nation of Islam dude said, no, man, don't change the TV for that white boy. And I said, what? He's like, yeah. What? He's like, no, we're not changing the TV. I was, man, it's a commercial. I just need to see the USC score. He's like, no, man. He's like, fuck you, man. We're not changing it. And I was like, okay, John X. And I just freaked out. I caused a big scene, called him, the M word. I did everything possible to get him to fight me there, but there was a no hands policy. And so, yeah, they politicked on. They tried to get me in the shower, but I got him real good. I knew it was coming, but yeah.
Okay.
That's
the
crazy.
dumbest thing that I watched a guy get his nose bit off for a 7-cent chicken patty.
Yeah, you told me the story.
Yeah, 7 cent, and not the last 7-cent chicken patty on earth, right? I had probably 700 or 800 of them more in the walk-in freezer that didn't have a lock on it and was 7 feet from where he got his nose bit off. In fact, I said to him, Jay, let me go grab an entire box and we'll just dump them into the fryer. You got nothing to worry about. He said, F this dude. He's not getting another one.
Yeah.
Just did that Bruce Lee.
Here's a cold one for your nose.
Well, and I didn't see that, or you or anyone else. And the very absolute worst, and this has got to be the worst of all time. This dude owed this Puerto Rican cat one stamp. And it's hard to, if someone owes you a stamp, it's hard to like say, hey man, can I get that stamp? Because now you just seem paid, but it was the principle that this dude wasn't paying this dude this one stamp. The dude told him to get bent on the one stamp. You're like, man, it's just one stamp, man. F you and that stamp. The dude said, all right. And yet he went back into the kitchen to get the Puerto Rican cat work. This happened at the hut, Terra Hut. Yeah. You know those big can openers that you open up the big cans with that vice onto the table? Went back, unviced one of those, and killed the dude with it.
Yeah, those things weigh about 25 pounds, man, with the handle
over
on it.
one stamp.
Yeah.
He's like, there you go. There's that one stamp, fool.
I seen that one guy get killed on the weight pile with a 45-pound dumbbell.
Yeah.
Just, while he's bench pressing, just took half his head off over a bag of coffee.
Yep.
Yeah.
$1.75.
Yeah.
That was the craziest thing.
A soup.
Yeah.
But more television sets than anything else. I told the story a bunch of times, man, but I was in the TV room and the guy walked in and went like this, right? And we all turned and looked, and it was my first time ever in a TV room. I don't mean a day room one. I'm talking about like they got at Terre Haute, like they got it at Lewisburg, like these itty bitty little TV rooms that there's, they segregate them and all that. And he came in and went like this. And I was like, oh, he's going to do this or that. And he went up behind me and just went, and got him. I was like, but short all over the side of the room. I'm like, I want to go home. I don't like it. Sucks. I don't want to be here anymore. Yeah. I'm not a person. They're bad people. I just stole money. Why am I here?
Those are some of the craziest things I've ever been involved in or seen. Yeah. I've been in riots, all that.
Okay, look, this is a good one. I'm gonna go, and then I want both of you guys to tell this. Now, this story's gonna take a minute or two. But I had a friend named Woody in the state, and I lived in a cell that didn't lock. Because I was a porter. I had a slider, and they didn't lock it. It's what used to be the shoe in an old unit. So there was only 5 cells that didn't lock, and I had one of them. So me and this dude used to like do practical jokes back and forth at each other. But because my cell didn't lock, the crap I could do to this dude, I took, the fans you could buy in the state? I took one of those fans. Yeah. I put it on an extension cord, and we had like old records because they used to play records for these guys. So like, the Andrews sisters and stuff from the 40s or whatever. I took an entire bottle of baby powder and I put it on top of the album cover And I went like this with a fan underneath his door, and then I would have to put more on it, and I would just go like this until the entire car blown into his cell. And then I went in and went to sleep, and I kept waiting to hear him scream. Nothing. So I went to breakfast, and I came back, and he's in his cell, and I walked in, and it's immaculate. And I go, "Man, Woody, it's clean in here." He goes, "It is. In about 6 minutes, you'll be able to write your name on everything in here." He goes, it's been settling since midnight. He's like, "I'm pretty sure I'm going to die of cancer with all that crap." Because I woke up. He said there was this paste on my teeth. But he went down to the barber shop and got hair and put it underneath the fitted sheet on my bed. So I got it laid down and like got comfortable in that. It was awful, dude. I'm itching going, what the hell? But this went back and forth for about 5 months, and I'll skip a bunch of them. But the final one was I had a bunch of money. I ran a sports book, and one of the dudes came up and said, "Hey, we got a remote control on one of the TV boxes. They screwed up and sent us a remote." I'm like, "Bet, dude. I don't care what you want for it. I'll buy it." And I realized after I bought it that it worked on every television set. I'm the only guy with a remote control in the whole prison. So I would get up and walk down the hall and get right behind it. So he couldn't see me from the window, and I would turn his TV off.
Yeah.
I'd hear him go, "Mother." And he'd lean forward, and he'd turn the TV back on, and I'd wait about 5 minutes, and I'd start cranking the volume up, and then I'd put the volume down. So I do this every night for a week. And I'm coming back from playing softball, and he's in the rotunda with the cop and a tape gun. And I'm like, I walk right by him, didn't even think about it. And as we were going to chow, I go, "What were you doing in the rotunda?" He goes, "I had to send my TV back." And I was like, "What?" He goes, "It turns itself off. The volume goes up." So I said to him, "Well, come on down to my cell, bro. I'm like, I'm not tripping. You can watch TV in my cell until you get your TV back. Like, I'm not going to no problem at all." So he comes down, and I got the remote under just a sheet. And we're sitting in there watching something, and I just drop it down, and he goes, "Oh, that's just how my shit started." He's like, "You're going to have to send that back." And I went and looked over at him, and it took him about 45 seconds. He goes, "Oh, you got a remote?" He's like, "Damn, that's
you."
Oh,
yeah. He's like, "Did you?" I go, "I did." And I swear to you, like, he's huge, dude, like Roy huge. And he looked at me and went, "Touche."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, no anger in his game at all. No anger. He hit my sports book for $800.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody hits that big, dude. He hit me for $800. And I hadn't been hit, I'm telling you, in college or in pro, in 7 units, nobody had hit me in 3 weeks. I had so much cash, so much product. And 80% of the people that I knew bet with hair care products, anything that's sealed. So I put together this huge box to pay him off. And I bring it in while we're playing poker. And he goes, I go, "Here you go, brother." I go, "Here's $100 in flat books." And he goes, "Sweet." I go, "And the rest is in product." He goes, I know it works." And he dips in and he goes, "Detangler." He goes, "Sweet." He goes, "I got 9 bottles of that." He's, completely bald, right? He's like, "Miracle Shave." I just gave him one product after another that no white man has ever purchased in a prison.
Yeah.
And he just smiled through the entire thing. He's like, "Bergamot gel. I needed 9 of these."
3 flowers hair gel.
Grace Flores.
Yeah.
Great Flores.
Afro Sheen.
Yep.
Afro Sheen, 9 bottles. You're a gent.
Palm combs.
He was a very, very funny.
Palm comb, yeah.
Oh, I love those palm combs in there, man.
Yeah. So, what's up? What's the funniest thing you did in prison?
The funniest thing. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Casper.
No, I don't have anything yet. So
I don't think there's really that. Other than I put 3 tarantulas in my bunkie's bed one night.
Wow.
Yeah, he's definitely afraid of spiders, and I wanted to get him back for a trick he did to me.
I'm not a fan, bro.
Yeah, I can't think of the funniest thing I ever did. One of the funniest things I ever saw, and I think I've told this story already, is when we were all laughing in the cell, and my buddy was like, he's like, "You guys want to see something funny?" And it was just random out of the blue, and we're like, "Okay, yeah," we're still laughing at whatever we're laughing at. And he pulls down his pants, and he's got a microphallus.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and we were just like, "What the hell?" Whoa, we didn't know what we were looking at, man. It was so mind-boggling. It was like, "What the hell?" He's like, "Yeah, I know, man. It sucks, but you know, and then we wanted to hear all the stories, you know, what's it like when a girl figures it out, or, you know,
Yeah,
what do you
exactly.
say?
How do you get by that
I wanna
laughing
know,
thing?
like, what do you do? How do you live with that?
You're a bottom in a gay relationship, are you not? Like that kind of question.
Hey,
Hey, I'm not joking you. That happened to me. I met a dude going through Oklahoma who was trying. His
I know.
nose
I
was
think we
wide
figured out
open
it's
because
probably the same guy.
yeah, because he was trying to get wasted. And my cellmate, luck of the draw, my cellmate going through he just had dope on lock. And I was like, I can't get you high. It's my cellmate stuff. I can't promise you anything. And he goes, if I show you the most ridiculous thing in the world, and my cellmate goes, it would have to be the most ridiculous thing in the world. Like if you and mid conversation just dropped it down. It looked like a pencil, about an inch long and a pencil. And my cellmate was like, he goes, bro, I am going to get you high. He's dumping it out, and he would stop and he'd dump out a little bit more, and he'd shake his head and dump out a little bit more. Like, you poor son of a idiot.
Dude, that's funny. He's actually hustling his microphallus.
Exactly. Are you kidding me?
What
really?
else did you do with it? What else did you do? Kristen Melinda, the only way that you can do that is this. If it is unopened, I did it dollar for dollar. So if a person bought bergamot gel for say $3.80, you got $3, right? I'm never going to round up, but I would give you whatever you paid for it. So pretty much dollar for dollar. And people spent more time betting with that than anything. And then the other really funny one, again, it wasn't to me, but I had a cellmate come in and said to me, hey, I'm smuggling stuff. I was like, oh, lovely. And I turned around, right? We were during count, and he, he's over there grunting one out behind a curtain to get what he's been smuggling on a bus for a day and a half. And I'm looking at it on the table, and it's wet, and it had been, they had made it moist to pack it up. And I go, what am I looking at? And he goes, that's Bugler, brother. And I pulled out my Foot Locker. I had 18 bags of 4 Aces in my Foot Locker. And I was like, and he goes, how did you could smoke on this yard? I go, yes, you can. And you can buy that right down there at the commissary. He was miserable about it.
That's funny.
How in the pen in the U.S. is it really that dangerous? Yeah, it really is.
I would like to say, I mean, without exaggeration, it's hands down. I mean, it's like war.
It's exactly like war.
It's like playing chess.
Yeah, and I know before I actually went to a high security to the penitentiary, I was like, man, these dudes there is nothing more vicious than California, level 4 or whatever, the Bay or whatever, and it's hands down. I think consistently with the killings, the stabbings, the people getting smashed, hands down. I mean, it's every single day. If you could make it to the chow hall in the morning for breakfast without the deuces going off, man, we were like, okay, it's going to be a good day. We might make it to lunch. It's bad, man. And I would love to say that I'm exaggerating, but I'm not. And what was traumatic for me about it, and I didn't know this until recently, that I had any trauma from federal prison,
right,
was that every morning standing in front of that door, booted and suited, ready to go every morning, and not knowing what the day had in store for me.
Your vagus nerve completely turned on. You're in fight or flight mode, and you don't even know why.
And so
I've seen guys. I've been walking to the chow when we were on lockdown, and seen guys, and we had to have our hands in our pockets, walking the track inside the yellow line, and then guys start getting into fights, and dudes get shot right on each side of me by a Mini 14. It is that dangerous. It could just drop at any moment. I don't know about feds, but you're right. California is that way, because you don't know if you're going to make it back from chow hall. You don't know if you're going to make it back from when you go to the weight pile, because if something jumps off, you got to be in it. Yeah. If you're not, you're hit.
Yeah.
It's a culture shock.
At USP Hazleton, from January to October, there was 12 murders the year I was there.
Yeah, that's incredible.
That's murders, and one of those was an officer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Just because you don't hear about it in the paper doesn't mean it doesn't happen, because
Yeah,
they don't report it.
They came in
Yeah.
on Victorville for 5 deaths in 1 week, and they came in and shut the yard down. But it's a culture shock because unless you're a youngster, you're probably not going to end up at a USP, even if unless your crimes are super heinous. They like to start older guys out at an FCI and see if they don't, if they can handle it. And the FCIs were lovely. And I remember when they yanked the old FCI out from underneath me, and I went from there to the first pen that I hit, well, other than the SMU pen, Lewisburg. But I hit Florence, the maximum security prison Florence. Mm-hmm. And it was a culture shock like a monkey, man. Like I got off the bus and came walking in, and the guy came up and said, hey, you familiar with the concept of putting work in? And I'm dumb as a brick, bro. I really am. Like, I've been in an FCI. I go, oh yeah, but I'm not tipped up, or like, I'm not with anybody. And he goes, right. You understand you got to put work in here to stay here, right? Whether you're an independent or anybody, you're either going to put work in, right? Or we're going to put work in on you. And I was like, oh yeah, no.
It was nice. Yeah. I mean, when I went to Chino Central, which was at the time for all the Southern California and all that, that was where you went. And then you went to your holding yard, which was like a level 2. But the first day I was there, I saw that, but I look over and here comes my uncle. So, and you got to understand, my uncles have been in and out of prison most of their lives. So I had a wing to be under right then and there. So I got good schooling and I got taught right.
Yeah.
So from there, I wasn't going to be with him the whole time, but where I did get sent, I did have the names to know. And when I did drop the names that I know and people do know my uncles, it was okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I still had a lot to prove, but I was a youngster, part of that Sprite generation or Pepsi generation, they used to call us. So, and when I did, it even elevated me from there.
Yeah, that's cool.
Crystal Melinda says, is there some sort of nefarious purpose for the Pilot gel pen?
There's a couple of color. Go ahead, though. Go ahead.
Yeah, that actually makes way more sense coming from you.
Oh yeah. So I mean, the Pilot gel pen is a great pen, and it's very much wanted in prison. At least, like, I can get high with it. I can use there's a few of the different gel pens of Pilot gel pens that you can actually use for tattooing, especially like the red ones. You can use that.
They're
red
coveted big time, the red ones.
Yeah, and what else? There's a couple of things you can do with that, specifically the Pilot gel pen.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably why.
You can also use the little metal piece at the very end. You can usually smoke dope out of. You can turn it around and make it into the cones.
That's right. Yep.
That's kind of a big deal. Jason, a little off on the sentence. I am an alcoholic and I want to be a part of your positive, right? Not but. And we don't judge anybody. Everybody who's sober was using the day before they started to get sober, right? You're not behind in any way, shape, or form because you're using. We don't shame people for that. And until you get sober, just keep coming back and listening, because everybody here has been through that, and it doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't at all.
I'm a raging alcoholic, and
I
always call myself an alcoholic first, man. Even though I have an alcoholic mind. Do you know what I mean? And for sure, I only go to AA. I'll go speak at NA, but my sponsor's in AA for sure.
Yeah, you were a drinker. Casper consistently made enough wine to keep himself hammered inside, which is not an easy thing to do.
Yeah,
but he was pretty serious about it. He was definitely pretty serious about it. But yeah, Krista Melinda, that's what that is all about. Were you close with the guards or warden, or is that very frowned upon?
Very frowned upon.
Yeah, it's frowned upon. It's called fraternization with staff. They do not like it.
The closest you get to any of them people are the like clerks,
Yeah.
Because the clerks are these kind of people that can be close to a guard and close to a warden, but at the same time, on that fine line, can be close with other people on the yard.
Yeah, we at some USPs, white boys weren't allowed to be work in the warden's office or the lieutenant's office. Just so that way because you could get shook down and be like, man, who could have that been? Oh, it's probably old boy because he's in the lieutenant's office or he's.
They assume you're telling. They assume that if the guy's doing you favors and kicking you down a smoke, that you're giving something up.
Yeah.
Yeah, Victorville was that way. You couldn't have any job that worked with staff. Like you couldn't be the assistant to anybody or any of that crap.
Yeah,
you could sweep, you could do those things, but you couldn't do anything like that.
But I have gotten close with a couple of guards. I'm not going to lie.
I am not either. There was a psychologist, but she was a doctor at FCI Terre Haute. I won't say her name because he was in love with me and she's married and I'm trying to smut her up. I'm not joking. Like, there was something really weird. Honestly, that's when they put me on the on a live watch for all that time. She visited every single day, and that was 32 days. She didn't miss a day coming up to see me, and she would hang out for an hour or whatever. And I had never been on the watch, right?
You're
so about
love.
9 days in, one of the guys who sits there on the other side of the window goes, "What's the deal with you and the doc?" And I'm like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." And he's like, "She comes up here every day." I'm like, "She has to." I'm like, "They got to come up and report on me every single day and write something down." And he goes, "Yeah, but they send somebody different every day." He's like, "There's always, it doesn't matter as long as somebody comes up." He goes, "It's never the same person every day." No, she definitely had she had a fascination in me for some reason.
She wanted the Rocco.
She might have.
Yeah, she wanted the rock.
Did you want the Rocco?
Do you remember that? I don't know if it was at all the federal prisons, but at Terre Haute, you could sign up and be
my brother's keeper
to sit with people that are on suicide watch.
Yeah, it's called My Brother's Keeper. I did it.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was signed up for it, but I never got called to do it.
$1 an hour. You work in 4-hour shifts.
Yeah,
really.
When I was on the Unalive watch, Casper, the guys. There was only 5 of them working.
Yeah.
For 32 days, I was there around the clock. They could only do 4-hour shifts. I got to know these guys. You have no idea how well I know these guys.
Yeah,
and, one of them fought Mike Tyson. He was probably on the yard when you were there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They called him Champ. Big black dude, huge. And he wasn't BS, and he would bring up his clippings, like all the clippings from the magazines and stuff. And talk. But then after he fought Tyson, he only made like $80,000. Tyson made like $4 million or something. And after the fight, he went back to gangbanging and he shot 4 people in the street in front of about 150 witnesses.
Damn.
Got him a life sentence. But I had that job. That's why I go off so hard on the Jeffrey Epstein case, because I have sat on the I'm going to unalive myself part of the glass for 32 days, and I have worked more shifts than you could possibly imagine on the I'm going to make $1 an hour part of the glass. And everything they told you about the Epstein process was a lie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every single word of it.
Absolutely.
Tyson did his time. Well, I did my time where Tyson was out here at PCF, Plainfield Correctional Facility.
Nice.
Yeah. Every time they said I wasn't there with him, but they just said he ran the track nonstop, hit the weights, ran the track. Nobody said a word to him.
Jasper, what are you doing?
Oh, it's my Perrier water bottle label. I'm just playing with it.
He's knitting.
No, he does this crap, man.
I know he does.
This is something he does all the time. He would do it in the cell. He'd play with strings. He'd move stuff out. He'd sit there and play with it. And then pull it and snap it. I'm like, oh my God.
A cat with a ball of yarn.
Yeah. I mean, he was, he played with crap. And I don't know if I told everybody this the other day. Maybe I was just telling Johnny, but I'm telling you, when I hit the shoe with Casper, like I remember coming back and I said, man, he goes, what? I go, I got a cigarette when I was out at Rec. I'm like, dude, I know, pass me a cigarette. He's like, chew? I'm like, no, a cigarette, dude. And I'm like, how are we going to light this thing? He's like, don't trip. I got this. And he went into MacGyver mode. It's like all of the stuff that you take for granted as being a convict, like how to create fire and all of those things. I broke bad really late in life, man. You know what I mean? Like I didn't do a prison rip until I was like 40, 39 or something. So
29.
by the time I hit the shoe, Casper was like, all right, I need a razor blade. He's like, I got everything I need, but I need a razor blade. So I was, asking the chief that was working in the hall. I was like, hey, man, I need a blade. And he kicks one under the door. And Casper's cutting up pieces of tin foil and shaving the battery down. And I'm looking over his shoulder like this. And what was even funnier was after that first cigarette that we smoked, we could not get foil anymore. They changed out the packets. So there was no foil in it, because you use the foil to actually create the fire. So Casper says, I'm dumb as a brick, right? Casper's a convict. He goes, yeah, Casper's a convict. He goes, we could use 2 batteries. He's like, we take that razor blade, break it in half. You just got to touch the 2 pieces of metal together, and they'll start to
lights
glow.
up.
He says, I'll lead down there with the cigarette, and I'll get it lit. Dumb Rock's like, yeah, I got this, dude. Don't trip, I got this.
I think those burn calluses. I think those burn
yellow calluses
are just now going
my
away.
fingers
the
burning.
yellow calluses.
Yeah.
I smell my fingers burning, and Casper's like, oh my God. But, and we did it about 600
even better.
We ended up getting a lot of tobacco because the guy that was downstairs who was cleaning up after the cops was hooking us up. But it was every day. We'd come back from work and we'd smoke one, and I'd be like, dude, I can't do it again. And we had a kid in there. The only other option was a kid, and he was soft, bro. We're like, look, all you got to do. And he went, eh. I was like, all right, give it to me, you little pile of sticks.
I remember those, man. Those burn marks, man. They wouldn't come out for
They
a
hurt
long
too.
time.
They hurt.
Yeah.
But all of that stuff, all that stuff. Like we were trying to make speakers. We were trying to hook up, make some cones and hook speakers up there so it'd be louder. And I said, it doesn't really, I wish it had a little bit more volume. And he's like, we'll make a battery pack. And I'm like, what's the point of the battery pack? He's like, yeah, we'll drive a little more power through it. He's like, hey, we need the phone. The cop's going by. He's like, hey, we need the phone. The cop brings the phone in, and Casper's like biting on the cord. He's like, all right, the yellow wire's worthless. And he's yanking it out of the phone. I'm like, ah. He's like, yeah, don't worry about it. That doesn't connect anything. Yeah, I learned a hell of a lot. I'm at the SMU doing the same thing, and guys are looking at me going, what are you doing, dude?
Don't worry, I learned this from a friend.
I got this.
I got this shit. You don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I got this. It was actually really funny stuff.
Yeah.
But,
So much fun.
I got fortunate being in the shoe with you, Casper. I don't know what I would have done.
Man, and it's all come full circle, man.
Did you have or make an enemy in prison, or did a prisoner or guard ever hate you for no reason? Oh my God, yes, and yes, and yes. I think all 3. That's a hat trick. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Do you remember Frank from Black Canyon?
Absolutely.
The old man that worked at Unicor? And I mean, man, he was like 50, 56, but I was probably 40 or 39 or whatever. He hated me from Jump Street. Day I walked into the unit, dude, hated me. And I was way bigger than him. Like, this is a dude, I would twist this dude's head off like a bottle cap. And one day I ate those stupid Smurfy things, right? And I'm trying to come down the stairs, and I missed the last 3 stairs. It looked to me like I was taking the last step. Have you ever had that happen? You know what I mean? Like, I thought that was the end of it, and I went, and as it looked like I was going to eat shit, I turned sideways, and my shoulder hit Frank's door. They call him batshit crazy Frank, right? My door, my shoulder hit his door, and he was already in bed because he worked at Unicorn. He hopped up at about 8 o'clock, like it was, 2:30 in the morning. It was 8 at night. And he's like, hey, motherfucker. And he's like, gets up in my face and starts screaming. I'm like, hey, you need to back up, take a deep breath, dude. We're going to be all right. And I have no depth perception, no nothing. And that old man lit me up, dude. I'm doing this one. You know what I mean? Like, I got no idea and he lit me up, dude. He hit me about 4 times. And it was like a bad dream. Yeah, I know, right? It was like a bad dream. I'm tripping, really. This thing makes you feel like you're hallucinating. And, he got me 4 good ones, snapped my head back, and my cellie finally pulled me out of there. He's like, dude, you're not doing good. Like, apparently. So in the morning, I woke up and started feeling better. And when Frank came back from Unicor, I was sitting in his cell waiting on him. I said, I think we need to have a conversation. And I beat the barnacles off that dude. But yeah, sober, I took him down through there, bro. In fact, he left the yard. That was the end of that. Hit like a dumbass. I said to him, now get in your rack and I'll bring you breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the next 3 days. Like I was not happy, dude. Because even that night I said to him, I go, I don't want to fight you, bro. I'm like, I'm and yeah, he just started swinging. So I beat the bark off of him, and then he walked down to the chow hall looking like Rocky Raccoon. Yeah. To his credit, though, as soon as it happened, everybody looked at me like I'm in the cell packing up stuff. Yeah, he was going to tell on me, and he didn't. He held his mud. You know, I can't smut him up too bad. He didn't tell on me, but I didn't.
He ran off the yard, though.
Yeah, I had to go. Yeah, he had to go.
Yeah,
bad dude. But yeah, that was about the only one that hated me for no reason. And then I'll say his whole name. I don't care. He can hem me up. Do you remember Larry? He was a member of the Arizona.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. He was my cellie in the shoe for a really long time, and he was an old man, and he would go, "Let me punch you as hard as I can in the side of the head, and I'll make you a captain." And I go, "Yeah, I don't really want to join your club, dude." And he would get up and do this one like the Karate Kid. And he was about 60. And he'd go, what are you doing, dude? What, you gonna jump up and do the crane, bro? You can't do a burpee. You know? He'd go, dude, I don't like you. He did like me, but he was always telling me that. I'd like to fight you. I said, why don't you? He's like, because I'm sure you could win. He was a fun guy.
His nickname was Animal, I think.
Yeah, it's exactly who we're talking about. Yep. We're talking about the same dude.
I think he was one of the ones that wrote statements on the cell phone.
I heard the same thing.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, we're talking about the same person.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But whenever they tell you they're Arizona something or they're something.
When he got there, those dudes were lining up to carry his bags and
literally
swinging off his nuts right when he got there.
Literally. Yeah. Like
so it's the exact
royalty.
It's the exact opposite of the question, Layla. Did anyone ever hate me for no reason? Yeah, probably. I can't think of any right now, but I can think of who I hated for no reason. But I feel like I had a reason. I didn't like that dude from the get, and it wasn't out of jealousy or ego. You know, I knew where I stand in the pecking order.
Yeah.
There was something about that fool that just felt effing phony, and I think in the end it proved itself to me.
I'll tell you,
he knew I didn't like him, and that might have given him a reason to tell on the cell phone. You know what I mean?
And do you know something? Look, I'll make it worse, and you don't have to, because Casper's not that kind of dude. But if you happen to be one of those people that came across this, and you're wondering if we're talking about the same person, yes, he did bust his leg sliding into a third base playing softball. All right, there you go. And now, if there was any doubt, dude, because how many big swinging you-know-whats broke their legs slammed into third base? That'll make it a little easier to.
Yeah.
I thought he was filthy. He's the guy I got hemmed up for saying while I was playing cards with a bunch of his people. And they go, yeah, he's a good dude. I go, yeah, he sure talks to the cops a lot. Every single time I see him, he's talking to a cop. And all of a sudden, as I'm dealing, I realized that it was like cricket sounds. Like you could hear, like no one was talking. And I had given him sodas and food. I looked up. I'm like, not that there's a problem with that. You know, we're all good, right?
Yeah.
Dude, you got to be careful with stuff you say.
The only one I didn't have a problem that I didn't like was the guard that I hit. I just did not like the way he talked or anything.
Yeah,
and
the guy I felt the same way about him.
He grabbed me like on the elbow right here from the back and kind of pinched. And when he did that, my reflex was just to night. I just
putting hands on an inmate's a bad idea.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
In the state joint, we had a guy, and he was a good dude, but he was gumpy. You know what I mean? Like he had about an 88 IQ. They called him Manson because it was not because he looked like Charles Manson. Like his middle name was Manson, and everybody called him Manson. And he kind of was like something about Mary's brother, you know, in the movie Something About Mary. And he swept the chow hall, and everybody gave him a real wide berth, and everybody left him alone. But he would listen to a Sony 1-battery roller, right? And he would just put that on and just groove. And he'd be outside, and he'd, trimming bushes or doing whatever. He had about 4 jobs, and just a good dude. And a new cop went over to him because was telling everybody to get back in the unit. He's out there just doing this one. And the cop goes up behind him and grabs his headphone, like pulls on it to talk to him. And he went, wham, got him with an elbow and got on top of him. And it looked like he was sawing wood. And I mean, two white dudes tackled him. And they had to take the white guys that tackled him and move them off the yard because everybody wanted to kill them. But Manson would have killed the dude. Just grumpy. He just would have killed the dude. As it was, he crushed the side of his face. He broke all his teeth out on one side. Like, it was a really bad ass kicking. But the cop got his stuff fixed. His face looked messed up and continued to come back to work. And which I think is absolutely remarkable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I personally would have taken the payout, called it a day, but yeah, and I was there for that one. He got the barnacles beat off of him. By the way, another one of my favorite prison expressions. Got the brakes beat off of him.
Baked me, Busted grape in the back of Wiltz's, back.
Good one.
Hey, I want to share something because we were talking about when we were in the cell and making cones with the speaker. I just wanted to kind of demonstrate what. So what you do, you would take your headphone, they're not wireless, and you make the cone so it fits over your headphone.
Yeah.
And you put it in the corners of the room, and they're like speakers.
It's like stereo.
Especially if you put it in the windows, because the windows are a speaker box. They're this wide. They're about 5 feet tall. Now, you were the first person I ever saw do that. There was no point to do it in a unit, right? You just put your headphones, you do whatever. But in the shoe, you're trying to save batteries. Great. You got 4 guys in there. You're doing everything you can to.
Yep.
To make it terrible. I mean, can you imagine spending 200 days in a box?
We had headphones, large headphones that we could buy, or we'd have to buy.
The TL20s,
the muffs,
I can make a speaker box for those too. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, we had like a 10-foot cord for our TVs.
Big
rolling my cigarettes.
Where you to roll your
my stinger.
Well, I had a great stinger at Black Canyon. I had a store-bought stinger in Black Canyon. They made it in Unicore, and it had a big ass long cord because I was shining. And you know what was great? Black Canyon. When they came to search the cells, I would take my stinger and put it on the bed. I would take all of my contraband and put it right on the bed, and nobody ever took it. I tried that at the next joint and got peeled for everything. They were like, "Hey, everything. Didn't even have to look for it. Good looking out. They took everything."
Yeah, there's some spots you can do that, and that's awesome. Like it could be whatever, I mean, not a knife, of course, but.
Well, like I've been even in Terre Haute, even when I was at Terre Haute, you could have a bag of wine hanging in your cell. You just had to tell the cop that you had a bag of wine hanging in your cell. Yep. You know how I learned that lesson? I saw like 9 guys with wine. I'm like, well, that's just tits. So I took my bag out of the locker and I hung it up like everybody else's. And the cop walked in right in front of everyone and goes, "What is that?" And I was like, "It's a bag of wine." And he went, get it. Just started sticking it. Took a pen out and started like poking holes in my wine sack. The stuff was just going everywhere. It stunk. Like,
you stunk.
Oh, dude, it stunk. And everyone was like, "Nice job." Live and learn, right? I'm like, how come you pop everyone else's? And they're like, well, if you tell them where it is. Black Canyon is in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yep. Like between Pinal County and Phoenix, like
up this big long hill past 2 trailer parks and a little mission bell that looks like it comes off of. There's a church that looks like it should be on the cover of Hotel California. Dude, that's a depressing ass ride. I remember going to that prison the first time, and you get off the beaten path, and it's like you're on a dirt road. There's dust blowing, and you literally pull up in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing around, and there's this church, and there's this bell out there, and I'm sitting on there going wah wah wah. Like, this sucks. This sucks. And then I got there, and it was beautiful. I mean, that prison doesn't even look like a prison.
Man. I was like, what the hell? This is so nice, man.
You walk out, it looks like low-income housing. Like when you walk up to the unit, and you know what's even worse? I mean, even better is FCI Tucson. If you take a picture of FCI Tucson from the outsides, like there are balconies on some of these units that you can't get out to them. They've long been bolted shut. But these cells used to have balconies on them, bro. It just looks like low-income housing. It doesn't
Wow.
look anything like, but it's set up just like Tucson, where it's like an MC Escher painting. You know, instead of there being long hallways or whatever, there's a bunch of tiers with a bunch of stairways going everywhere, like Oklahoma City too.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
transfer
that's
center.
cool.
Ever,
That's super cool.
Yeah. Okay, hold on a second.
Noah asked if I had been in state prison. I did, yeah. I told him, yeah. I did all state. Those guys did Fed time.
Yes.
Well, they
You
had
served your
everything.
time. Yeah. He did that soft time. You served your time. You get released. What on earth is next? It's always a halfway house, or can you go home, assuming you have a home? Must be overwhelming. Russ, you want to tell us the state version of that?
Okay, state version. I guess nowadays they're doing halfway houses like as much as they can, or sober living or something like that, you know, to help out. Like my friend who did the 27 did life, but got it amended. He went to a halfway house. He had to go to a halfway house. Didn't have a drug problem or anything, but it was violence that put him in. So when I was in, of course, I had a house. If you had somewhere to go, they gave you $200, a bus ticket or a train ticket, and you went straight back to wherever you're from. Orange County is where I was from, so I hopped on a train, and then I got to a certain area, and then I got on a bus. But the one time I got a ride, well, after that I got a ride, but it's a long process. It all depends on what you do, where you're at, where you're going. But California kicked me out, so I had to get on the Greyhound and take 3 days to go to Indiana.
Well, that's a friggin' badge of honor right there, right? California
It is.
kicked me out. What's up?
Yeah.
Handle me. Those sissies in California.
Don't ever come
sent me on-
back, man.
Had to send me on the road.
I would have been doing life under the 3 stripes.
Damn straight.
You know, no problem.
I got flown out of this last time I was in prison. I picked up an air travel. They actually put me on an airplane. How about that?
They did that my last one too.
Yeah, because of face diaper time. They didn't want everybody on buses for 5 days because of the face diapers. But yeah, I got on a plane. I've been on Con Air more times than you could possibly count. And Casper would tell you the same thing. Every time you got a hot, every time you dropped a hot, every time you got in a fist fight, every time they found something to sell.
Dude.
I mean, Con Air was just one of those things, man.
Yeah, and in the feds, they mostly like to send you to a halfway house, like a reentry type halfway house. But it's not mandatory. You can go to the streets,
provided you have an address that is. So take me for instance. I was living in Nevada, so as I was getting ready to get out and leave Sheridan, I said I'd like to go to a halfway house in Nevada. They said, okay, we've got one in Las Vegas, and I said Las Vegas is an 8.5 hour flight. I mean, a drive from where I live. You know, it's so now what you're saying is I go to the halfway house, but I can never go home, right? Because my house would have to be within 50 miles or 100 miles of the halfway house. So instead, they said, well, we're going to send you to a closer one to your house then. And they sent me to a halfway house in Oakland, California, because that was actually closer to where I lived than Vegas was. Yeah, I went to a halfway house in Oakland right after the riots. And when I walked in, I was one of 6 out of 105 guys that were white. And do you know what, man? Those black guys were the coolest people. There was nobody there that treated me with even a minute amount of disrespect ever at any point. And when I first got there, they stuck me on like the 4th floor, which this used to be the mayor's mansion. It's beautiful. The Black Panthers then bought it, and somehow the state got it. But I was in the very attic, and I was the only white dude in the attic. And when I went upstairs, it was great because I got to the top and they were like, oh, you're cool. The Nevada car is all in the attic anyway. And it was just a bunch of black dudes, and we knew a bunch of the same people, you know?
Yeah.
I was a heroin addict, so I knew a bunch of the guys from the hood. And we all started shooting the breeze, but I was terrified getting there. I'm in a taxi cab, and the guy's like, where are you heading? I'm like, to a halfway house in Oakland. And he goes, Wow.
Oh
That's
yeah,
gonna
that's,
suck.
what is that? 96th Street or whatever that goes.
Yeah, MacArthur.
Yeah, McCarty. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
96 MacArthur. That's it's a terrifying place. It's
Oh,
a huge,
totally.
intimidating. Yeah,
Yeah.
intimidating.
Where was
I
this?
bought and sold a lot of heroin on
Oakland,
that street.
California.
North.
It's
yeah.
way up north. Yeah. Well, you know.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be in San
I know.
Francisco. They told
Bunch
me I
of
was going to
busters.
San Francisco, and I had like 9 friends
Bunch of
from
busters.
the feds that were already at San Francisco. And I had like reached out to them, and they were emailing me, and they're like, "We got a package here for you, bro. You're set." And I am on my way to the airport, and they're getting me my tickets, and they're like, "And here's your ticket to Oakland." And I'm like, "I got to take a cab from Oakland to San Francisco." And he goes, "No, why would you be going to San Francisco?" I'm like, "Because that's where the halfway house is." He goes, "Not your halfway house." And I went, "Oh shit."
Shite.
Yeah, I was super unhappy about it. I really was. But my first goal, it's really funny because if you had asked that question any other time in my life, like you're just out of prison, now what's your move? I would have said women. Like I would have been instantly looking for, and I did. That's not something that I gave even 2 craps about when I got out this time. Like it was the last thing on my mind.
Same.
Yeah, I just wanted to stay sober. I was terrified about that. I didn't have, there wasn't anybody in my life either, though. My wife and I had divorced, and it wasn't the road I was ready to go back down, to be honest. But it was. This last time was weird.
Not me. That's the first thing I thought of.
Yeah.
Well, that's usually the way it is. That's usually the way it is.
This last one,
A Big Mac, and
knock the dust off.
tuna sandwich.
Yeah.
And knock the dust off that man.
But
I had to walk by when I would come home every day. We ended up buying a car illegally because the public transportation, it was so hairy, bro. I would be running home from work at 3:00 in the morning in kicks, in boots, right? I'd have to go 2 miles, and I got I'm bleeding at my feet. But if you get there 2 minutes late, you're going back to prison. Right. So we ended up buying a car, but in the beginning, I would get dumped off by the bus, and I would have to walk 1.5 miles the entire way, man. You got girls out there going, "Hey, you looking for a date?" And you're like, no.
Maybe.
No. It's funny when we finally got paid, right? The guys, we had a car, we finally got paid. This is a true story. This God is my witness. They go, "Hey, man, we're going to a party tonight, and we're just leaving." I worked a shift that got off at 2:00 in the morning. But they thought we had overtime. I didn't have to be home till 5 a.m. And our boss sends us home at right around midnight. And he's like, "We're not going home." And I'm like, "Oh, guys, dude, don't do this, man."
Yeah.
And he's like, he goes, "No," he goes, "We got a party we're going to." He's like, "There's no drugs, there's no alcohol." I'm like, "Then why do you want to go?" And he goes, "Because there's a bunch of hookers." He goes, "And I know this girl." I'm like, "Oh my God, bro." And he's like, "Come on, Rock." He's like, "Come on, Rock, be cool." I'm like, I'm not going to be cool. Like, I'm not going to be cool. So here's what we're going to do. I'm like, I'm going to get in a car. I'll take an Uber, and I will meet you at the halfway house. I will not go in until you guys get there. I'm not going to get you in trouble. And they were like, "No, you can go tell them that you got let off early and that we had to work." I said, "You're cool with that?" He said, "Yeah." And because I know what would happen, bro. I would have been there, and they got away with it. But if it had been me, I would have walked in, and they would have been like, "This is Terry." And I would have walked up. I'd have been like, "Terry, how you doing?" And you'd have heard boom, and the door would have come down, and they'd have been like, "On your faces."
Yeah.
They'd have done that raid as I walked through the front door. And then I'd be saying to my probation officer, "Man, I was just working,
I was
dude
working.
Just wanted to go back to
my
my halfway house, man."
You sound like a bunch of jive, man.
Exactly. The dude didn't even want to go to the party, man. I just wanted to go home and lay down. My hands hurt from sandblasting, and I don't even like this.
He forced me.
Yeah. No, I knew this was going to go down. Like I knew what would happen if I was there. And what's the difference between, I'm here and we're doing this right now, and it's never ever worked any other time, because this is no shit. I'm not even joking. It was the Costanza method for probably, like, you watch Seinfeld, when George does absolutely everything, it comes to his mind, it's the exact opposite. It's like, hey, there's going to be a bunch of girls there, dude. It's a party, women, you can get that. No. Nope, not doing it. Nope, not doing it. First thing that comes to mind, I'm doing the exact opposite every time, and it's worked out. Up to this point, here I am.
That's kind of what I meant when I said I just listened to what they were telling me, didn't listen to myself, and look, now we're sitting
Follow
here
the
on
rules.
YouTube.
Yeah.
This time this time's really different. I'm blessed. I got a good group of friends that I care about. We got a great crew here. I'm madly in love. I got a bunch of good cats, which is really more important than everything else I just said, except Quibs. The cat thing's huge. I'm serious, man. They keep me sane, man. Yeah, they keep you sane.
I'm a cat guy too.
Yeah.
Dude,
I love my cat.
and you haven't seen the commercial for it yet because Johnny and I have just been filming it. But I don't have a litter box anymore, right? We have a cat toilet. This is the greatest concept in the whole world. Like your cat just gets into it, you forget about it. It even weighs my cat to tell me if she's losing weight or gaining weight. It tells me if she takes a leak or dropped a deuce. It does all of that, and then I'll get a text that'll say, "Hey, you need to empty the bag in the litter." You go in there, you open it up, take the bag, do the drawstring, drop it in the trash.
What is it, a litter genie or something like that?
The litter genie is a round circle they got to walk in. This just looks like a litter box. This just looks like a litter box. But Squirrel goes in there and drops a deuce or takes a leak or whatever, and as she walks away, the machine waits like 4 minutes, and there's a constant I-beam running. So if she hears the sound and is fascinated, if she touches it or does anything, it stops, freezes for 5 minutes. I can't hurt her, but she never ever goes to the bathroom in a dirty kitty litter ever. And it breaks it and drops it perfectly clean and flat for her on the next one. And I call it a cat toilet. It's not a litter box.
Those
litter boxes, bro. I don't even.
That litter genie is $1,000.
This one was this is like $650, but if you use promo code Scoville, you get a fat discount off of that. So
for real?
Yeah.
Right.
Are you an affiliate? Okay.
Yeah, we are absolutely repping this product. It is. Look, man, we started doing the math. It's crazy, but the amount of time you spend over the course of an average life's, the life of a cat, it's like 20 or 30, 40-hour work weeks scooping cat shit. You can do without that. And instead of doing that, you know what I'm doing instead? I'm playing with the cat. It's actually like that's that much more time I get to have with the animal, which I think is crazy.
Okay.
Right.
So I'm pretty excited with that. Now I'm throwing you guys off, man, because if I don't reach out and say goodnight to my fiance and say a prayer with her, it just wouldn't be right. So I'm scrapping it. But you gentlemen are going to come back next week, are you not?
Yes, we are.
And I want to do a big shout out to Turd Ferguson. That is, he's out there fighting the good fight, man. He's in rehab. He's in his second week there. And he's putting in the time. He's actually doing what it takes to be sober. He's out in Massachusetts, and we couldn't be any more proud of him. We really couldn't. And,
absolutely.
Good job.
Everybody fighting the good fights. To everybody that said no to all of the things that they used to say yes to today. This one's for you. We will see all of you tomorrow.
Thanks everybody for the great questions.
Right, just killing it, man. We got the best audience in the world. Between now and the next time you see it, we want you to reach out and try to save somebody. And know this, the T-shirts that you guys were screaming for, the one that says, because Diddy wants to party and you've got to tell him no, those shirts are on the way, peeps. So stay tuned. Those are coming.
I'm drawing some too.
Yeah, and we actually have some talent now. So between now and the next time I see you, reach out and try to save somebody.
Peace, everyone.
Mahalo.
Yeah, mahalo.